Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today I got a couple of things for you, a couple of cards to show you, plus we'll do our album of the week. So when we were kids, we all, when we collected ball cards, it was a much different time. And I'm not going to go into that, but we didn't care about condition, we didn't care about value, and we just cared about collecting cards. And at least for me, it was about a couple of things. It was about early collecting days. It was about collecting our favorite players. This was before my set building activities. It was about collecting my favorite players, my favorite team, which is the St. Louis Cardinals. So that was what it was all about. And like I've said before, just in another video, we'd sit on my parents' back porch. This is when I'm 6 years old, 7 years old, and we have a few cards in our hands, and we're trading cards, and we're doing whatever else. We're enjoying our cards. And one of the things that I used to do with my friends and my brother would be we would play baseball games with our cards, and we would find some space, usually in the living room or the bedroom, and we would have a baseball game with our cards. Right? One of us would be one team, let's say the St. Louis Cardinals. Another team, one of us would be another team, and the defense would lay out the cards in the field, and we would, we would actually pitch and hit. We'd have a little paper baseball, and one of them would throw it, and we'd have our card in our hand where we would hit the ball, and certain areas would be a hit in the room, certain areas would be an out. If you hit it far enough, you get a home run and so forth. But when you got a hit, you'd actually run the bases. You have your card in your hand, and you would go from base to base to base before you got out, before the other person would gather the little paper wad and tag you out. So it was just a fun thing to do with our baseball cards back then. Again, we don't really care. We had no understanding of value and no care about condition for these cards. So, but what happened with those cards, because of all that activity, was they got destroyed, right? they either got destroyed, and if it was our favorite player, maybe we kept them. If it wasn't, then we probably trashed the card and we found some other replacement, right? We went down to the minor leagues and AAA and called up another player, another baseball card, and backfilled that hole we had in our team. So that's what we did. And sometimes, again, there were actual teams like the Cardinals, or maybe we put together various cards that we had that were, maybe it was an all-star team, right? That we had that weren't all of the same team. So that's what we did. So I have a couple of cards that survived that activity. It went out from when I was a kid, and these two cards that I have are, I'll show them here in a second, but they are a couple of the most prized cards in my collection. From a value perspective, they're worthless, right? But I'll never get rid of them, and they sit up on my shelf, proudly on display for everybody to see. And it's just cards that invoke that memory from back when I was a child and playing that baseball game and collecting the cards like we did. So the first card I have is a 1974 Bob Gibson. You just take a look at that card. It's just destroyed. The corners are all worn. You can't really see it very well, but there's a big crease across his chest. There's a big crease at the corner by his name. It's just there's wrinkles in it. It's just not a very good condition card. But yeah, again, means much more to me than any value or condition, right? I think the top of it, you can still read it. There's no paper loss there or anything like that, so you can still read it. It's still pretty good, but again, Bob was a pitcher, so he didn't have to deal with some of the toughness of being on defense, right? on those baseball card games. The other one is the 1975 Hank Aaron, and you can clearly see this one is much worse condition than that Bob Gibson. So, but they got paper loss there on the right hand side. He's looking right at it. The corners are bad, and it's just a destroyed card. But it's just one of the prize cards in my set. The back is all worn out. You can kind of see that the back's all worn out, and there's just some of the the text is faded. But sits right up there on that shelf, proudly on display. So that was fun. I thought I'd bring that topic up. It was a fun time in my life, and again, really the genesis of my collecting and what we did with baseball cards. And fortunately, I do have a couple that survived. So and I always will. So today's album of the week is by an artist that everybody knows. He's been around since, I think his first record was in 1974, maybe 73. And he's not one of my favorite artists. I like him a lot. But most of us were introduced to this artist in 1984 with his release of Born in the USA. That's where I was really introduced to Bruce Springsteen. That album was just massive for him. It was everywhere on the radio. I think there were 6 or 7 top 10 singles off that record. It was all over MTV, and it just put him in a different stratosphere than he ever was. But that's not the record I'm talking about today. I don't really care for that record. I get it, and back then, it was great. I didn't really care for it back then either, but I got it. But after that record, after Born in the USA in 1985, Springsteen released a box set of live recordings. It was 75 to 85 live, and it was clips from not just his last tour that he did with off of Born in the USA, but in fact, I don't really know how many of the clips there were off of that tour, but there were clips from older tours that he released in this box set, and he was really utilizing the popularity of Born in the USA and trying to take advantage of that momentum to introduce fans to his larger catalog. And that's exactly what happened to me. So I heard that live at 75 to 85 stuff, and I was blown away. Because it's so different. Most of it is so different than the Born in the USA stuff. The Born in the USA stuff is more poppy and radio friendly and things like that, and his older stuff really isn't for the most part. For those of you who are aware of all of that, you may remember that the single, at least the first single that they released to promote that live, the 75 to 85 box set, was Rosalita Come Out Tonight. And if you have not heard the live version of that song, go find it. Just look it up on YouTube and listen to it, and you will thank me later for sure. That is just a fantastic song. But this week's album of the week is Born to Run. This is his third record. Came out in 1975, and his first 2 records, he was really still a smaller known artist, and he had some stuff that got some airplay, but he was still playing a lot of smaller clubs and smaller venues. And he knew that he had to put a record out that would take him to the next level. So he changed his production on this. He changed some of his band members on this, and he took a little bit different perspective on writing his songs. And Born to Run is a masterpiece. By anybody's standards, it's a masterpiece, and by my standard, it's a masterpiece. And like I said, I'm not a huge fan of Springsteen. If I ranked my top 20 artists and bands, he probably wouldn't even be in that top 20 or 25. But this record, top 5 for me easily. Start to finish, Thunder Road leads it off, Jungle Land finishes it, and everything in between is perfect in my opinion. Now, I don't know if record producers and artists consider the order of the tracks when they put the records together, but this record here, it seems like that every song on the record is supposed to be exactly where it's at relative to the other songs in the record. It just tells an entire story from start to finish, and it's just a phenomenal record. So if you haven't heard Born to Run. Go find it in your local record store, on your favorite streaming service. Give it a listen, and you will thank me later for sure. So that's all I have for today. Everybody have a wonderful rest of the weekend.